comment, subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell. That way you can get all of the notifications. And if you'd like to support the channel, support my work, you can do that by going to paypal.me/thebestdampodcast, patreon.com/bestdampodcast, or venmo.com/bestdampodcast. And to all of you who have supported in the past and will do so after watching tonight's video, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I really need the help right now, so it is greatly appreciated. This is not only my source of income, but how this channel continues to create content. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it, and you have no idea how much it means. Now, to get right down to it, the coronavirus is becoming incredibly serious. But is it just a distraction from other things that are taking place as well? Right in our side view, right all around us, we see the world inching closer to nuclear war, with Russia, China, and Iran running joint military drills, the conflict with Iran and the United States, the nuclear tensions with North Korea, the fighting in the South China Sea, and of course the ongoing conflict between the United States and Russia. People are now starting to ask the question, will the UK intervene? How does Germany fit into this? You can't forget Pakistan and India and the conflict there as well. We have these outbreaks of things like the coronavirus. We have wars and rumors of wars. And not to mention the signs in the heavens, the things that are taking place in the sky are unprecedented and undeniable. In 2017, over half of the world was in a state of emergency. 2018, 2019, we've seen exponential rises in volcanic and seismic activity, flooding, wildfires, sinkholes, you name it, we've seen it, but on a level that we couldn't even imagine. Now, as 2020 has rolled through, the CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, predicted 3 military conflicts for the United States this year. And you may have guessed it, North Korea, China, and Iran. Right now, it appears as if we are in the midst of the book of Revelation, and the trumpets and the seals are giving way. Some of you may or may not be familiar with biblical scripture, so we'll look at some of the prophecies as we go through tonight's show. Now, this coronavirus is getting incredibly serious. I mean, things are really starting to intensify, and a lot of people are starting to get freaked out. You know, they really are. They're wondering, is this going to become some type of pandemic? You know, what are we looking at? Are these the plagues mentioned in the Bible? You can see here, coronavirus death toll rises to 56 cases, approach 2,000, everything we know. The new coronavirus, which now claimed 56 lives in China, has now been confirmed in Canada. This thing is going all over the place. Now, a never-before-seen virus detected in the Chinese city of Wuhan has claimed more than 50 lives and infected almost 2,000 Chinese citizens with a pneumonia-like illness, according to China's National Health Commission. The virus was first reported to the World Health Organization on December 31st and has been under investigation since. Chinese scientists have linked the disease to a family of viruses known as coronaviruses, which include the deadly SARS and Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS. On Friday, French authorities confirmed 3 cases inside the country, the first known cases in Europe. The same day, Australia announced its first confirmed case, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, announced a second case in the United States, this time in Chicago. There are now more than 60 patients under investigation for possible infection in over 20 states, according to Dr. Nancy Messiani of the CDC. On Saturday, the State Department told employees at the U.S. consulate in Wuhan to leave the city. Scientists have yet to fully understand the destructive potential of the new virus known as 2019-nCoV. Researchers and investigators are just beginning to figure out where it originated and how it's transmitted and how far it's spread. Now, as of Saturday, case numbers had skyrocketed to more than 1,900 in China and abroad. Chinese authorities also confirmed that health workers have been infected with the virus, suggesting that human-to-human transmission is possible. Authorities are taking the step to guard against the spread of 2019-nCoV. On Thursday, a special WHO committee decided it was still too early to declare a public health emergency on a global level. On Saturday, though, Hong Kong declared a citywide emergency, its highest warning level, canceling all official Chinese New Year celebrations and extending school breaks for the holiday until February 17th. Also on Saturday, China said that starting Monday, it would clamp down on travel for some of its citizens heading abroad, including suspending tour groups and temporary halting of the sale of flight and hotel packages. The situation is rapidly evolving. We've collided everything we know about the mystery virus, what's next for researchers, and some of the steps you can take to reduce your risk. And it goes on to tell you what is a coronavirus, that it belongs to a family known as Coronaviridae, and under an electron microscope, they look like spiked rings. They're named for these spikes, which form a halo around their viral envelope. Coronaviruses contain a strand of RNA in their envelope and can't reproduce without getting inside living cells and hijacking their machinery. The spikes on the viral envelope help them bind to cells, which gives them a way in. It's like blasting the door open with C4. Once inside, they turn the cell into a virus factory, using its molecular conveyor belt to produce more viruses, which are then shipped out. The virus progeny infect other cells, and the cycle starts anew. Typically, these types of viruses are found in animals ranging from livestock to household pets to wildlife such as bats. When they make the jump to humans, they can cause fever, respiratory illness, and inflammation in the lungs. In immunocompromised individuals, such as the elderly or those with AIDS, such as viruses can cause severe respiratory illness. Extremely pathogenic coronaviruses were behind SARS and MERS and were easily transmitted from human to human. SARS, which showed up in the early 2000s, infected more than 8,000 people and resulted in nearly 800 deaths. MERS, which appeared in the early 2010s, infected almost 2,500 people and led to more than 850 deaths. Now, the virus appears to have originated at the Hunan Seafood Wholesale Market in Wuhan, a Chinese city about 650 miles south of Beijing. It has a population of more than 11 million people. The market sells fish as well as a panoply of meat from other animals, including bats and snakes. The Wuhan market was shut down January 1st. Markets have been implicated in the origin and spread of viral diseases in past epidemics, and a large majority of the people so far confirmed to have come down with this coronavirus had been to the Hunan seafood marketplace in recent weeks. The market seems like an integral piece of the puzzle, but researchers will need to conduct a range of experiments and tests to confirm the virus's origin. The testing of animals in the Wuhan area, including sampling from the markets, will provide more information, said Raina McIntyre, head of the Biosecurity Research Program at the University of New South Wales Kirby Institute. On Wednesday, a report in the Journal of Medical Virology by a team of Chinese researchers suggested snakes were the most probable wildlife animal reservoir for the 2019-nCoV. The work examined the genetic code of the virus and compared it with that of two types of snakes, the many-banded krait and the Chinese cobra. The research demonstrated that the snake's genetic code displayed a high level of similarity with the virus. Shortly after, 2 preprint studies refuted these claims, suggesting 2019 nCoV likely originated in bats. And as I was talking about in my video the other day, it talks about in the end times, these snakes biting people, just like in Exodus in the time of Moses, and that those who were chosen by God or the elect would not get sick from it. We look at all of the different scripture surrounding the events that are taking place right now. We've seen the rise of Ebola and measles, which kind of seem to be, the preemptive strike for what we're seeing now. Now this coronavirus, slowly but surely, is inching towards what would be called epidemic or pandemic. And it appears as if it's starting to spread like wildfire. When you're seeing it burst out in Europe, the United States, and the way it's, just taking hold of China, it's really hard to deny that this thing is really, really serious. Now you can see here the confirmed cases that have been reported. Authorities have confirmed more than 1,900 cases as of Saturday. The bulk are in China, with a total of 10 cases reported in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. Internationally, a handful of cases have been confirmed in Thailand, Japan, South Korea, and the U.S., where a man in his 30s in Washington State and a woman in her 60s in Illinois were confirmed to have the disease. Further spread was confirmed Friday, with Australia announcing 4 cases and France announcing 3. Canadian authorities announced its first presumptive case on Saturday, a male in his 50s who had traveled through Wuhan. Now here's the breakdown as it stands. China with 1,985 cases, Thailand 7, Australia 4, Malaysia 3, Singapore 3, France 3, Vietnam 2, Japan 3, South Korea 2, US 2, and Nepal 1. And it basically says that you can track the toll of this virus online through a tool at the CDC. And the death toll stands at 42, which it has risen since I began making this video. So we might as well go to the clip. Here you go.
The U.S. Embassy in China is evacuating American citizens from Wuhan, the center of the coronavirus outbreak. More than 1,500 cases are now reported in China, where at least 54 people have died. Here in the U.S., 63 patients have been tested in 22 states. Here's Remy Inocencio.
At Ground Zero in Wuhan, an army of excavators is in a frantic race to now build not 1, but 2 hospitals to treat over 2,000 people infected with the coronavirus. As patients continue to pack into hospitals, medical supplies are running low: masks, gloves, and surgical gowns. The city's highways, train station, and airport now sit empty after officials restricted access out of the sprawling city of 11 million people. More than a dozen surrounding cities and towns, an estimated 50 million people, are now on some kind of total or partial transport lockdown. Most of the infections have been in mainland China, but fresh cases are popping up. Today, Australia and Malaysia reported their first cases, and Japan reported a third. France confirmed 3 cases on Friday, while the U.S. identified a second in Chicago. Fears of infection have spread from Wuhan this past week. As our CBS News crew left before the city's lockdown, nearly every departing passenger at the airport was wearing a mask. And across the country, including Beijing, where we were checked for fevers right after we got off the plane. All this souring celebrations for Chinese New Year, the country's biggest holiday. To get an idea of just how big Chinese New Year is in this country, think of it as Thanksgiving and Christmas combined for 1.4 billion people. That is a massive, massive celebration. And parks like this should be filled with people celebrating the holiday, but now they're nearly empty. In and around Beijing, major tourist sites like the Forbidden City and a part of the Great Wall, normally bustling with visitors, are now closed. Further south, Shanghai Disney has closed its gates. None are expected to reopen until this still expanding coronavirus epidemic is contained. Ramy Inocencio, CBS News, Beijing.
And you can see, man, it's incredibly serious. It's incredibly serious. And this thing is spreading really, really fast. And, you know, we're going to look at some scripture after we go over some of these events and show you just how all of this is falling right into place. I mentioned the Illuminati card game and how these type of events are incorporated in that as well. So one can only suspect that maybe the Ebola and measles, you know, were the precursor to what we're seeing now. And as if plague and disease wasn't enough, right? Look at here, World War III shock. Nations, nuclear armed Russia and China will side within U.S. versus Iran war revealed. Now, we already know as soon as this started popping off with the United States and Iran, China, Russia, and Iran started holding joint drills, okay? So we already know what side they're going to be on. Many people are familiar with Gog-Magog war. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Also, Revelation 16:12, which describes Syria, right? And it says, from the dust of the Euphrates prepares the way for the kings of the east. The kings being plural, meaning Russia and China. And we know that modern day Babylon is destroyed, right, in an hour. And the only one who fits the description to a T, as I've shown on previous episodes, is the United States. Now, you can see here, despite an apparent de-escalation of tensions between the U.S. and Iran, fears still remain of a potential descent into a global conflict. Iran international editor and presenter Sadiq Sabah explained who China and Russia would side with in a major Middle Eastern conflict with the U.S. During an interview with The Express, Mr. Sabah explained China would likely stay neutral in the conflict. No. He noted Russia would most likely side with the West, but may continue to arm Iran with weapons and technology. However, Mr. Sabah explained Russia would not send Russian forces to support Iran or its allies in a major Middle Eastern conflict. This is just absolute BS, by the way. I mean, as soon as this conflict started heating up, it was joint military drills with Russia, China, and Iran. Russia has supplied Iran arms for a very long time. It is in the interest of both Russia and China, who also hold all kinds of joint drills together, to side with Iran in this situation. This is propaganda. That way you will buy in to a war with Iran, believing there will be no real consequences if the United States was to start bombing away on Iran. And I mentioned the prophecy of Nostradamus, right, in the celestial alignment of Sun, Mars, Venus, and Leo, right, that happened right way back last August of 2019, and how it describes the Arab Prince. And then we seen the drone bombing the Saudi Arabian oil fields, and it talks about Persia, very nearly 1 million men, and they just so happen to have about 875,000 soldiers, and how it was describing the beginning of World War III. It's also talking about the president, you know, the false trumpet concealing madness. Two great friends, right? Russia and the United States, with Putin and Trump. You got to keep in mind, the Russian president Vladimir Putin called Donald Trump the fiery dragon, or the fiery serpent. We know that the red one in the four horsemen of the apocalypse comes to bring war. It represents blood, taking peace from the earth. We've seen Trump compared to Cyrus, the king of Babylon, having a gold coin minted, naming Jerusalem the capital to build the third temple. I mean, biblically, it all aligns to this being the very start of the final conflict. Whether this develops, and it will develop, into Gog and Magog, this will eventually result in the fall of Babylon by the time all is said and done. And like I said, after we go over a few of these headlines, we'll look at the prophecy. Now, the Iran expert said, the way that history goes when it comes to the crunch is China usually remains neutral and Russia will vote with the West. Don't believe that for a second. World War III fears as Pakistan launches nuclear-capable missile amid threat of imminent conflict, and this has been a big-time hotspot as well. Pakistan has once again tested a nuclear warhead-capable missile as tensions continue to escalate between the nation and India after Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan warned of the, quote, threat of imminent conflict between the nuclear-armed nations. And this is, like I said, another one we're going to see just, really be a mess when it finally goes to nuclear blows. Now, Pakistan has tested its Ghaznavi surface-to-surface ballistic missile with a range of different warheads, including nuclear ones. The test marks the nation's second successful launch of the missile, which has an operating range of 290 kilometers. The test was part of a larger field training exercise used to test the country's day and night combat readiness. It comes just hours after Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan warned in an interview with the BBC of the, quote, big threat of imminent conflict in Kashmir. Pakistan's state media commented on the launch and explained it was witnessed by top military officials. The operation was considered a success as the state media said the test was, quote, a very high standard of proficiency in handling and operating the weapon system. Both Prime Minister Imran Khan and President Arif Alvi hailed the launch as a landmark achievement. The Ghaznavi ballistic missile is also known as the HAF-3. It is a Pakistani-made, nuclear-capable missile which can be launched from land-based vehicles, making for a convenient option at a short notice. The exercise follows after an escalation in tensions between India and Pakistan over Kashmir's autonomy being revoked by New Delhi. Pakistan has claimed that India's move is a violation of the United Nations Security Council resolution. India countered by arguing that changes to the Indian constitution are an internal matter, and this change will improve stability while also ending militancy in Kashmir. Now, we already know, not only has the Iran nuclear deal been revoked, but the START treaty, the INF treaty, short range, medium, intermediate, long range, all nuclear treaties have been withdrawn from by the United States. Basically, given a green light to the world for a nuclear holocaust. We've seen tensions not only between our allies, but all across the world. These trade wars that have been imposed on China, all of it, man. And the talks breaking down with North Korea. And so many people fail to even know about North Korea, that they used to be made fun of for not having a successful nuclear missile launch, when in truth they were blowing them up so soon off the launch pad because they were testing them for EMP. They have a satellite that crosses over the United States twice a day, just so happens to come from a direction where our missile defense system couldn't detect it until it had already passed 2 times. So on the third go round, we could finally shoot it down, and it's tumbling at the perfect height for EMP attack. And we know that in 2019, Trump had an executive order to harden the grid against EMP. I mean, it's these little things like this that are stacking up and adding up, and you look all the way across the world at all of it that's happening in Syria, and Pakistan, India, in Iran, in Iraq, and you really need to open your eyes and see that we are on the cusp, right? We were told there will be wars and rumors of wars. I can't tell you, I've never seen a time more in my life that fits that description. World War III predictions. Where would World War III be fought, and is there going to be a World War III? Now, World War III fears have been triggered once again in 2020 after European nations triggered a formal dispute process over Iran's breaches of the 2015 nuclear deal. But where would World War III be fought? All over the world. World War III concerns have been raised after rockets were launched on U.S. and U.K. camps in Iraq, allegedly wounding civilians from surrounding villages. Democratic presidential candidates also claimed U.S. President Donald Trump was recklessly speeding towards war with Iran during debate. Now, France, Germany, and the UK have said they do not accept Iran's argument. In order to protect the agreement and attempt to stop Iran, European powers have triggered a dispute mechanism set out in Article 36 of the deal. The mechanism essentially means a dispute will be referred to a joint commission that will have a minimum of 15 days to resolve the issue. The statement reads, "Our hope is to bring Iran back into full compliance with its commitments under the JCPOA. If the complainants are not satisfied with the conclusion of this period, the issue can be deferred to the UN Security Council, which could vote to reimpose any sanctions lifted under the deal." Many experts believe this move, while attempting to prevent all-out war, could well be the move which spells out an end and leads to World War III. Like I said, more, right? Baba Vanga, 2020 prediction, end of the world. Putin assassination, tsunami in the new year. Now, Baba Vanga is hailed as the Balkan Nostradamus by her followers due to her supposed powers of foresight. But what did the blind Bulgarian predict will happen in 2020? Here are some of Baba Vanga's most terrifying prophecies alongside a leading psychic's New Year predictions. We're going to take a look at what Baba Vanga thinks will happen this year. Baba Vanga's followers often refer to the mysterious woman as the Balkan Nostradamus due to her supposed prophetic powers. Baba Vanga rose to prominence in the year 2000 when she is said to have predicted the sinking of the Russian submarine Kursk. Since then, Vanga's followers claim she predicted 9/11, the cataclysmic 2004 tsunami, and the 2008 election of Barack Obama. On top of her supposed powers of foresight, Vanga's supporters believe the blind woman who lived in the village of Rupite, Bulgaria, had the power to communicate with the dead. So what exactly did Baba Vanga have to say about the year 2020 before her death in '96? And here are her predictions. The most terrifying prediction attributed to the blind medium is the fiery demise of the world. The good news is Baba Vanga supposedly predicted the Armageddon will not unfold for another 3,000 years in the year 5079. The bad news is Baba Vanga did not specify how the world would come to an end or what will lead to the end times. However, Mr. Hamilton Parker has told the Express 2020 promises to be a turbulent year with a war in the Middle East, natural disasters, and political unrest. The medium's believers are convinced Baba Vanga foresaw an assassination attempt on the life of Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to Charlotte Dobry of the Information Overload YouTube channel, the attempt on Putin's life will unfold at some date in the future in Europe. Putin will supposedly be attacked by a member of his own security team. Although Hamilton Parker did not foresee any such assassination attempt, he did say President Putin will broker a peace treaty with President Trump. Parker did, however, predict trouble for China's President Xi Jinping in the aftermath of the Hong Kong riots. Quote, "I predicted the Hong Kong riots some time ago. I also spoke of a revolution in China. 2020 will see further clash in Hong Kong with new riots in the Chinese mainland. Faced with the overthrow of government, Xi Jinping will agree to sweeping changes. But these changes, the psychic said, will unfold a few years. Now, based on her prophecies, the future, a powerful tsunami could strike Asia 16 years after the tragedy of 2004. And if the blind mystic is proven correct, next year another disastrous wave will sweep through parts of Pakistan, Japan, China, and Indonesia. And I know one way that that could really be possible, right? If the Cascadian subduction zone goes, which we've been seeing all types of seismic activity there, right? Not only that, but, you know, we're seeing the earthquakes around Mount Rainier, which is incredibly telling, along with the San Andreas Fault, the volcanic activity over on the west coast, and then what you're seeing around the New Madrid, right, in Oklahoma. The world is showing you. It's going through these birth pains, right? It's like a woman in labor, as the Bible says. Another one, the end of the world, why Pope's 2020 resignation will fulfill a 900-year-old doomsday prophecy. The Pope could resign in 2020 in what would be the final piece of a 900-year-old prophecy marking the end of the world, according to a source close to the Vatican leader. Now keep in mind, there's supposed to be 7 popes in the reign of the U.S., and this is number 7. There is a lot of prophecies around this pope with the black shoes and everything. So Nostradamus definitely depicted him as the last pope and who would mark the demise of the United States. And looking into other things, this is I found interesting. Earth's magnetic North Pole is skittering wildly across the Arctic. By 2040, our compasses will point eastward of true north, says experts. And, you know, this right here from Maverick Star Reloaded is showing the different movement of the magnetic North Pole as it's migrating. See here, right? 2019, November, or October, September, October, November, December, and now January of 2020. I'm going to go ahead and play a short clip from this video and let you hear it from Maverick Star yourself. But he does incredible work, especially when it comes to documenting the pole movements. And we have seen magnetic north migrate extremely fast towards Siberia. And keep in mind, he's showing you, right, from 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2019, and we've already moved to 2020, right, 3 miles in 2020. This is the golden line here, the 40-degree mark. This is where magnetics break down and reverse, and this is how close we are. Around here, we were less than 300 miles away from that. Guys, it's no joke. You know, the Bible talks about islands and mountains being moved from their place, the sky rolling back like a scroll, right? Wars and rumors of wars, famine, plague. I mean, if you cannot see that the hour is late, right? I mean, even the mainstream media is telling you, moving the doomsday clock from 100 seconds to midnight. And we have lost 30% of our magnetic field, cracking the magnetosphere, South Pole's left Antarctica, north migrating towards Siberia, dissipation over Canada and Australia, which is resulting in wildfires in Australia. I mean, doesn't get any, clearer than that. The effects are exponential and obvious. And there you have it, zoomed out. You can see how fast this thing has been jumping over the last few years, right? These large leaps compared to over the last 120, 30 years. Guys, it's no joke. I mean, it really is. You know, they want to tell you this is going to take 2,000 years. You got nothing to worry about, because they want everybody to be as unprepared as possible, to have as many casualties as possible. But you were told in the Bible all of these things would take place. All of them. You see it, right? Coronaviruses, right? World wars. The poles are shifting. What more do you need? They're even telling you in the mainstream news. Evangelicals love Donald Trump for many reasons, but one of them is especially terrifying. End times. The enemies of Israel have unleashed a massive air attack on the Promised Land. Hundreds of fighter jets streak across the sky, but before Israel can be destroyed, fire rains from the heavens and the enemy jets explode in midair with no explanation. Hailstones the size of golf balls follow the fire. The ground shakes. Birds pick clean the bodies of the fallen attackers. The enemy is vanquished without a single Israeli casualty, and the country is saved. These are some of the opening scenes of the best-selling 95 book Left Behind, a novel of the Earth's last days. And keep in mind that Left Behind is another one of those inversions of the world, right? It talks about no flesh would survive, right? But for the sake of the elect, right? And those who endure to the end will be saved. And when he even speaks about two are standing in the field and one is taken, when you look at the Hebrew, taken means death. So this whole rapture nonsense that isn't in the Bible is to flip everything upside down. This is a purification that's taking place on the earth. You don't want to be taken. You don't want to be vaporized, right? But the world is going to invert everything, because that's what the enemy does. Just like telling you Israel is a political state created by Satanists, right? The story of the Gog and Magog war is central to the bloody eschatology long embraced by billions of American evangelicals. In recent years, end times has gained special political currency as believers have seen any number of Middle East conflagrations as fulfilling Ezekiel's prophecy, notably the U.S. invasion of Iraq and the war in Syria. Gog and Magog took on fresh relevance earlier this month when the Trump administration assassinated Major General Qasem Soleimani, the commander of Iran's elite Quds force. On many levels, Trump's self-created crisis in Iran seems to have no relationship to any sort of coherent foreign policy or geopolitical plan for the future. The assassination has yielded few, if any, tangible reward for the U.S., but there is an eager constituency for Trump's improvised policy towards the Middle East and Iran in particular. The evangelical Christians who see it as a means of ushering in the return of Christ, lured by the promise of a conservative Supreme Court justice, anti-abortion measures, and commitment to Christian supremacy under the guise of religious freedom. White evangelicals vote for Trump in higher numbers than any other group, more than 80%. And you know what? That's the thing. They forget that this son of perdition, this man of sin, would deceive many, right? How he would speak these proud things, right? It's like they forget all of the prophecies and how they would talk about Babylon, how great it was, how great its army was, and that it couldn't be destroyed. You know, there's one thing looming that's creating these signs in the heavens that is the catalyst for this magnetic reversal that could be creating these viruses if they're not created in a laboratory somewhere, considering the patents for the vaccines are owned by Bill Gates and that are pushing these countries to war. That's what's taking place in the skies. That's what all this other stuff is distracting you from. That's what they don't want you to see or know. This. This is what they want to keep you. You notice that they never show you how insane the skies are? NASA talks about solar winds and things like this that are just not adding up, that our sun shouldn't be giving off that much. Well, could it be because there's more than one sun? The Bible speaks about a star named Wormwood turning the waters bitter, causing sores on people, a mountain being set ablaze and thrown into the ocean. It sounds like a giant asteroid to me. Sounds like a star to me. And in the 60s, the Nemesis system was fairly mainstream till it actually got close. They've been talking about this. Ancient Babylonians talked about it and called it Jupiter, Nibiru. You look at the Lost Book of Enki, the Enuma Elish, and the destruction of Tiamat. Guys, it goes on and on since the beginning of time. But they want you to know about World War. It keeps you in fear. It makes you believe that the government, man, is in control. Keeps you unaware of the true destroyer that is extremely close. They want you focused on pandemics and things like this and not what could be causing them. Not why they're fighting. Not why the prophecies are being fulfilled. Not why you're seeing the signs in the sky and the earth is changing the way it is, the seismic and volcanic activity. Because if you knew this, then everything else would make sense. And if you did your research, you wouldn't be afraid anymore. You would understand that those who are right with God will be saved from the things coming on this earth. And that if you are at the frequency of love and you're in harmony with creation, with the earth, with your fellow man, then you will not be touched. They don't want you to know that this is a natural cycle that takes place, that people have survived it before. They want as many casualties as possible. This is the agenda for depopulation. This is the reason that all the rest is taking place. Columns of smoke, fire, and blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. What do you think this is? What do you think you're seeing? So what does that mean is at hand? The day of the Lord is judgment day, not because God is evil, angry, and wrathful, but because this thing is attracted to evil and negativity and darkness and fear. And that's why they are trying to create as much of it as possible before it touches down and does what it does. They want you absolutely caught off guard when this thing appears in the sky. Taken by surprise, men's hearts will fail them for fear. And can you see why? You know, ask yourself, are you ready for what is coming on the earth? Are you prepared? You can see in Scripture, it says, "And the 7 angels with 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and hail and fire mixed with blood were flung to the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, along with a third of the trees and all the green grass." What do you think is causing that hail and fire? Then the second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned to blood. Went through that great blazing mountain. You can see other reference verses as well. Moses stretched his staff towards heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and lightning struck the earth. So the Lord rained hail upon the land of Egypt. Where's the hail coming from? Don't they say that it was a plasma discharge that created the Grand Canyon? We're seeing plasma strikes coming off the sun, lightning storms we've never seen before, plane crashes, blackouts in entire countries, especially around the equator where the field is the weakest. Behold, the Lord has a strong and mighty one, like a hailstorm or destructive tempest, like a driving rain or flooding downpour. He will smash it to the ground. Ezekiel, I'll execute judgment upon him with plague. With plague, right? With plague and bloodshed. I execute judgment with plague and bloodshed. I will pour out torrents of rain, hailstones, fire, and brimstone on him and on his troops and on the many nations with him. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke. And all the land declares the Lord, 2/3 will be cut off and perish, but 1/3 will be left in it. This third I will bring through the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. Think about that. 2/3. 2/3. And you wonder why the censorship, the shadow banning, the demonetizing, the deplatforming, the targeted individuals, the mocking, the scoffing. It's all just the beginning of persecution of the saints, those in the truth, because the truth will set you free. All of these things were foretold and must come to pass. And Jesus told you, do not be afraid. This is the beginning of sorrows. The end is not yet. After this I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back its 4 winds, so that no wind would blow on land or sea or on any tree. 1/3 of the living creatures in the sea died, and 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. A great burning star, like a torch, fell from heaven and landed on 1/3 of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. 1/3 of the waters turned bitter like wormwood, oil, and many people died from the bitter waters. The 4th angel sounded his trumpet, and 1/3 of the sun and moon and stars were struck. 1/3 of the stars were darkened. 1/3 of the day was without light, and 1/3 of the night as well. Are you getting the point? Are you getting the point? Right? The first angel went and poured out his bowl on the earth, and loathsome, malignant sores broke out on those who had the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. And huge hailstones, about 100 pounds each, rained down on them from above, and men cursed God for the plague of hail because it was so horrendous. Guys, this is where it all came from. This is why it's all happening. It's all right here. And I looked, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over 1/4 part of the earth to kill with sword, with hunger, with death, and with beasts of the earth. And it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which did not have the seal of God in their foreheads. Of course, it is wise to prepare water, canned goods, dry goods, emergency food, survival gear, escape routes out of the city, to learn how to survive a nuclear blast. That water stops most of it. Wet blankets, pools, potassium iodide. It's smart to make these type of plans. Where you'll go, what you'll do, and have everything in place. Because you know the season. Even if no man knows the day or the hour. But the most important thing that you can do, absolutely most important thing you can do, is prepare spiritually. Because the kingdom of heaven is within. It is only by going within yourself and seeking the face of the Father, letting Christ in your heart, that you'll be saved, that you'll endure. And if you're marked to go on day one, you will go on day one. And if the Father has you lasting until the end, you will. There'll be nothing that can change it. But just make sure that you are on the right side of this, because time is short. Time is short, and there's nothing more important than what you can do right now to save yourself, your children, your grandchildren, your family, your friends, and to warn them of the things that are coming, and to show them that God is real. Share the truth and set them free. And when you know the Father, you will no longer have fear in your heart, because you will understand what is taking place. You will have a comforter, a redeemer. You will never be alone. Do all things in love, friends, and shine that light of yours as bright as you can right now, because we're closing in on our darkest hour. And without your light, the world is just darkness. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you and all that you do. All of you for hitting the like, for sharing it on your social media, for leaving comments, for anyone that donates and supports. You have no idea how much it helps me. My main channel was hijacked, and that's my income. It's crushed me. So I need your help, and I appreciate it. And I think it's important that people hear this, so I appreciate you sharing it and getting it out. I love all of you guys, and this is our moment to shine, to stand in the truth, to have faith in the Father, and to be love and be light and be a family. Please consider donating, supporting the channel. Like I said, this is my income. My main channel was hijacked, and I've been struggling big time because of that. Big time. You can do that at paypal.me/thebestdampodcast, patreon.com/bestdampodcast, or venmo.com/bestdampodcast. And to those of you who have or will, after watching this video, thank you so much. I really do need your help, and I really do appreciate it. Please give this a like, leave a comment. It helps with the algorithms and helps more people to hear it and see it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and click the bell and hit all. That way you can get the notifications. And make sure to share it to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all your favorite social media. If you want to write me, you can do it at the realbestdampodcast@gmail.com. Make sure to join the Discord groups, the Facebook groups, and all of that. Like I said, I love you guys, and I'm so thankful, so honored to be able to do this, and I will continue doing it till I can't no more. Hopefully the main channel will be restored and we can get that back, and hopefully, with prayer and help from you guys, I'll get through this hard time. And I know a lot of you guys are going through hard times too, so